Hello, folks. Good evening. Welcome to another date on Journalist Hangout. And would you believe this? It is 15 days into the Lenten season, and as you fast for righteousness' sake, may every of your wish come true. All right, then. I am Citizen Jones Hussein. Today on the program, new minimum wage will kick off in September. Federal government says it would address poverty gap. And later on, Senate wants death penalty for hate speech offenders. I'll be hanging out with Babatunde Kolade Otitoju. Did I greet you?
I greet you.
And I haven't seen Emeka Madunagu in a long while. Welcome, Emeka.
Good evening, viewers.
All right, then. So we are ready to go. I hope you are too. All right, the question of a national minimum wage has not only been on the front burner for ages, but had always raised a rancorous matter of how much wage is considered a living one. Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, laid the debate to rest yesterday, or so it seems, when he announced that a new national minimum wage would become effective from September 2018. According to him, the new wage would address the issue of social imbalance, including inequality, and of course, bridging the poverty gap. Judy, to kick off, there's a difference between a good, sound reasoning and a reasoning that sounds good.
Yes.
In regards to this debate. So what constitutes a living minimum wage on a national level?
No, that is it's a tough one. You see, what constitutes a living wage in Damaturu may not constitute a living wage in Port Harcourt.
May not.
Yes. What constitutes a living wage in Nguru may not constitute a living wage in Lagos. What constitutes a living wage in even Sokoto may not constitute a living wage in Enugu.
Essentially, you don't need a uniform thing.
What I'm saying is because the cost of living varies from community to community. Okay. If I live in Taraba State, for example, which I like to describe as the food basket of Nigeria, it's effectively rivals Benue as Nigeria's food basket. If I live in Taraba, buying foodstuff will not be such a big deal to me. For example, in a town called Bali in Taraba State, I bought about 60 kg bag of rice, local rice, for 12,000 naira.
But 50 kg?
50 kg.
Okay.
50 kg. I mean 60 kg because it was heavier than the normal 50 kg. All they do is they just get an empty jute bag. They don't put it on a scale. Yeah. So once it's filled to the brim, they sew it up and they just give it to you. And I said, wonderful people, thank you. Nobody put it on a scale. But when I brought it home, because I had to get a transport company to bring it to Lagos. When we were bringing it out of my car,
it was quite.
I knew it was quite heavier, a lot heavier than a 50 kg bag.
You can say it's not polished.
No, but
it's not parboiled.
No, but no, it's stoneless. The local people, now have a way of ensuring that you do not have stones.
Yes,
there are destoning equipment now.
Yes.
That they can afford.
Yes.
So all this talk about there is stone, so much stone, you don't even need to. It doesn't have to be polished.
Yeah.
It comes. It is accompanying nutrients and all that, which makes it a lot healthier than.
As you said, they have traditional ways of sifting the
Yes, ensuring that the stones are off. And even the chaff are gone. If you see the rice, you won't believe that, and it's local rice, bought in Bali. Now, 12,000 naira, that is the cost of buying half a bag of Igbimo rice. Sometime last year, when I went to
Igbimo now?
Igbimo is Moji Jamiu's village in Ekiti State.
Okay, really?
Yes, they also grow rice in ample quantity.
Saying
So
from state to state, you have a local
rice.
species.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Igbimo rice, I bought half a bag for 12,000 naira. Half a bag. And that half a bag certainly was not up to 25 kg. So now I'm looking at
living national wage. What constitutes it?
Yes, that's the point that I'm making. Look, if you give me 40,000 naira a month, I will get by in some parts of the country. I will be comfortable. I will live well.
Even 20,000.
Yeah, no, even so that it doesn't look like an exaggeration that at my level I want 20,000. But I know that because food will be sufficient and all that and cheap. Everybody has a farm. Some of my friends who have retired to the village in Taraba, they have rice farms of their own. Yeah. They grow maize, and so they don't need to spend so much more.
In so many parts of the country.
Yeah, Lao alone, Lao local government in Taraba can feed the entire country. Rice can grow all the rice.
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
A local government,
which is it's true.
National minimum wage.
Yeah.
The secretary to the government didn't put a figure to it, so the debate is still on, keeping it under wraps.
Yeah, I'm wondering, amplifying what BKO said, you know. You don't have a uniform standard of living across the country.
Yeah.
I look at some of my mates living back in my hometown, for instance, in Anambra State, you know. You find that there are some of them who actually live in their own houses or maybe in their father's, in their family compounds. And then they're civil servants.
At that point,
there's
no hassle about rent.
And some of them are even farmers.
Yes.
So there's enough time for them to go to work and then also engage in farming. So you'll find out that, you know, on a scale, they are relatively well off.
Yes.
But if you live in a place like Lagos, you know, the cost of living,
Abuja,
Kano, where will you find the farm?
You don't need, where is the time to farm? The time you spend in traffic, you get home, you're exhausted.
Yeah.
But you find out that some of these people in some of our colleagues in some states, you know, some of them are even local government workers, some of them are state civil servants. So from the point where they live to where they work, it isn't even much of a distance. Trekking distance. And they're able to get by. Now, talking about the national, you know, a living wage, I hope that what the SGF means is that the new minimum wage will be decided on a different set of parameters, not just the traditional way of throwing money at problems. And then at the end of the day, the states will say, we can't pay. Even the federal government will not be able to pay because right now, there are some federal agencies that are on strike. Senior staff of universities are on strike. National Library staff are on strike. So they all have different issues. So it's not just about academic staff also. So it's not just about how much, you know, take home pay.
Do you know that the wage matter, is it on the exclusive or the concurrent list?
No, the minimum wage is, the Constitution stipulates that there shall be a minimum wage for the country.
So that's exclusive.
Yeah, interpretatively, that's what it means.
State workers?
For everyone in the country, there shall be a minimum wage in the country.
Okay.
It's what the Constitution stipulates. That is why states can't now on their own say, no, for my state, this is the minimum wage. Now, in the US, for example, Massachusetts has a minimum wage that is higher than other American states.
Really?
higher than New York, higher than... They pay to the staff what they can afford.
But that's in an organic federation.
Yes.
Organic democratic society.
You see, it's just similar to the situation that ensures that we have only one police. The Constitution says clearly that there shall be only one police. So you can't have state governments, no matter how rich they are, can't form their own police. But of course, we know that in America and in some other countries, you have even police at county level and all that, so that the society gets policed better, you know. But these are matters that we can do nothing about unless the Constitution is amended. So if they come up with a minimum wage today, it will be it is expected to be binding on everyone, every part of Nigeria, whether you are in the private sector or not. It is expected that that minimum wage that you obey the stipulations. But we all know that it's extremely difficult for these states to pay
even
minimum
the private
wage.
sector.
Even the 18,000 minimum wage that subsists now. I know states in Nigeria that can't pay. Some are owing salaries, but there are some who can't even pay the minimum wage. So it's a big problem. And there are still Nigerians on like 7,000, 8,000, 10,000 naira a month.
5,000.
One teacher posted a picture on my younger sister's wall and said, see, I'm a teacher, I'm happy to teach. And I'm on 15,000 naira a month. And I said, how do you get by on 15K? And look at this guy.
A state setting now.
Yes, but of course it's in the north.
Okay.
Food, the food is cheaper and all that. And for most people, once they put food in the belly, honestly, other problems.
Any other thing.
Emeka,
I'm looking at the macroeconomic effects of a large rise in minimum wage. What do I mean? The market seller, the trader,
Traders.
name them, they hear, they don't increase money and everything will go up and never come down. That's another angle to the wahala.
Yeah, before this program started, I was reading a study that was conducted in the US some time ago about, should countries have higher wages? Should they have higher wages, higher, a very high minimum wage? He said yes, but one downside to this is that lower jobs will disappear.
Okay.
Lower paying jobs will disappear. And then we know in Nigeria,
menial perhaps.
Yeah, in Nigeria, it also affects the currency. That's why you see a lot of the lower denominations are not very common.
Oh, yeah.
So, yes, well, that's why I said earlier that I hope there'll be a different set of, there'll be a different template this time, a different set of parameters. Whereby, sorry?
I said, what should they do?
No, whereby government will look into some of these things we mentioned. It's not just about money, but within it, for instance, if you join the civil service as a graduate, are you entitled to, for instance, certain reliefs from the government, maybe tax relief?
Don't forget, that puts you on grade level 8.
Yes.
And grade level 8, the figure varies from state to state, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
ministry
to ministry.
Ministry to ministry.
Yeah,
some federal agencies
but the federal government,
far more paid
but the
than
federal
others.
government can set a good standard, taking into cognizance the situation in the economy.
Have you thought about harmonization? The man working at the NNPC earns more, is a graduate like you, so there's no harmonization. Earns more than
man working
the
in
professor.
The debt management office earns more. The one working in the CBN earns a lot more.
Yeah, those are variations. Those are variations. But I think what Labour has been fighting for is actually at that base level, the minimum wage, so that life will be a lot easier for the because there are a lot of Nigerians at that low level.
To it. I hear them talking
about
about
Labour
50.
talked about 56,000 at the time, 45,000 at the time, 56,000. Yes, but I think it goes beyond the figure, because how much is even 56,000? Break it down.
Well, again, Emeka, as Judy said, varies. How much is 50,000 varies from state to state.
Yes.
Yes, but the fact of the matter is this: You talked about Taraba. Yes, standard of living may be quite lower in Taraba. But can Taraba state government afford to pay a 56,000 naira minimum wage? Lagos state government may be able to. And that's why I said may be able to, depending on how they look at their finances vis-a-vis other priorities, other projects, other issues in their budget. But yes, some of them may be lower in some states.
Yeah.
But can the state governments afford to pay that minimum wage? I want a good minimum wage. But I think for me, the kind of minimum wage I think needs to be talked about is the one that takes care of the basic needs of citizenry, where you have a functional national health insurance scheme. So there's some form of relief in terms of health care services, in terms of education, in terms of some tax relief, in terms of things that actually affect the citizens directly.
All that can be done in a minimum wage.
No, I'm talking about, you have the figure, but you also have, that's what I said, reliefs.
Except if there is a conversation to go along with this conversation on the minimum wage, whereby they say, look, what are we even talking about? Minimum wage in itself cannot guarantee good life. What guarantees good life is those other things.
Those other things, yes.
Can you afford to put your children in the schools, the kind of schools that you prefer? Yes. Can you be able to afford qualitative health care? These are the things, and then shelter. Look, if you take those three basic things, if you sort out shelter, sort out health, and education, the problem of most Nigerians have been taken care of. So if there will be a separate conversation, you know, to say, okay, we're talking about minimum wage, but there are other things. It takes more than just a minimum wage to guarantee better living for Nigerians.
The idea here is not to preempt the federal government. Don't forget, there's a second angle to this statement. The wage will bridge the poverty gap.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that.
You are not being fair here.
No.
Wait until September.
No.
But there's an ongoing conversation.
Let me tell you now,
it's ongoing.
Citizen. You see, where statements are made, sometimes make me come to the conclusion that they were made to achieve certain
political objectives
on the spur of the moment.
Certain designs. Now, the boss Mustafa went to an NLC event. He must say things that will galvanize them, that will rouse them, that will make them clap for him, and then they leave. I've told the story of the former Pascal Biafia, who went to Babangida and said, Your Excellency, today I'm going to abuse you before my people, but don't be annoyed. Don't be annoyed.
Not part of the game.
If I don't abuse you, they will not be happy with me. He came, abused the man. People were hailing him. Meanwhile, he had begged Babangida before reading the speech. So people go sometimes to just say certain things that people want to hear. What kind of wage are you going to pay the Nigerian worker that will bridge the poverty gap? What kind of wage are you going to pay the Nigerian worker that will solve all kinds of problems?
And I insist we wait. It's not a long time to wait.
September is not such a long time.
No. So
but that magic wand, I'm surprised.
But if they don't, if that wage, if in September, that wage promised does not bridge the poverty gap as promised, we will come here.
This table will take on it. No, it's all right. But Emeka, look at the other leg look at the event itself. NLC is celebrating 40 years. You think, looking back, the NLC can count its blessings?
Yeah.
Okay.
NLC
played. You've just mentioned Bafia now. Let's go back.
NLC has really played a big role in helping the nation through the years. There's cause to celebrate NLC because
even when sometimes it's difficult to say.
No. Well,
you think
that's one side of the view,
coin. Yeah.
One side of the coin. You might believe NLC has failed on certain occasions, but overall, has NLC played its role on the side, as NLC stood on the side of the people, I'll say yes, NLC has really, I can give NLC a pass.
But Emeka, so sorry,
Yes.
without preempting what you...
Yes.
But the Nigerian worker does not have a bargaining chip in all of this. The Nigerian worker cannot say, look, this is what I want, with the NLC behind it. I don't know if you understand me.
Well, a lot of things have changed. You know, a lot of things have changed. A lot of things
influence has
changed.
declined over the years.
Yes, their influence has declined. And then, unfortunately, you know, you find with the liberalization of the economy, for instance, you have private universities that don't approve of unionization. You have certain aspects of the economy that don't. So the liberalization of the economy has also brought with it certain changes, certain developments that have not been in the interest of the worker.
Jide, but Labour could have done a lot more than it's attempting to do now.
Yes, you can't wish away the influence of politics even in the effective running of NLC. A lot of the Labour leaders are affiliated to some political godfathers or the other, or even political parties. And you find that government tries its best to get involved in even the electioneering process at the NLC. Look at what happened the last time the NLC was divided, and you find Ajero and some other people, they're on one
forming
side.
the ULC.
You know? So it's, it wasn't like this before. The NLC of those days, when we had Hassan Sumono, God bless that old man, I saw him in Osun State a few months back, was a very strong one. And the old man worked at the Organization of African Trade Union Unity and also excelled. For many years, he served...
Permit me to mention Wahab Goodluck.
Yeah, Wahab Goodluck as well. You know, so with every passing year now, it's clear to me that the influence of the NLC has declined. The NLC these days will issue threats, and the capacity to implement its threat, you see clearly that it's not there.
At a stage, you thought the organized labor in Nigeria had nothing else to do but organize strikes.
Yeah, even the strikes. Even the strikes now are difficult to organize, because when petrol price was hiked the other day, labor called out workers across the country. But here in Lagos, it failed. It failed spectacularly. In the past, Lagos was the major point of success for NLC strikes.
Yeah,
so that's why I'm saying even
I remember
politics.
the January 2012, what do you call it?
Now, yes, the fuel subsidy.
Yeah.
Now, if some politicians, if some labor leaders are close to some politicians who in the past allowed them or encouraged them or supported their aspirations, supported them in organizing strikes, but if those politicians are currently in government, it becomes difficult for those labor leaders to be able to push strike through.
Emeka, at this point, I cannot but mention the Labour Party that came. We thought it was an answer to some of these problems. If the Labour Party joins the fray, it can stamp its authority on some of these things, if you get me.
Yes, but I have never been comfortable with the idea of the Labour Congress running a Labour Party, because I feel the Labour movement should operate on a set of objectives, set of principles. Now, does it mean that all workers sleep facing the same side? Does it mean everybody agrees with the same set of objectives? When it comes to partisan politics, it's a different ball game. It's not like, fighting for workers' rights. Partisan politics is a different
It's interesting to get to hear what Ayuba Hassan in Edo State has to say here. Welcome, Ayuba. Lost the connection to him. Yeah.
So what I'm talking about is that partisan politics is a different ball game from running the labor movement. They are not on the same.
After all, you had one or two governors who got elected on the Labour Party ticket.
Labour Party, but was that?
Yeah. The party had become a kind of stepping stone for people to achieve political greatness. And once they achieve political greatness, they move on. Some politicians, when they are denied tickets to contest election in the big parties, they go to Labour, and easily pick tickets. So that is what politicians use Labour Party for now. It's been hijacked. It's no longer a party for the Nigerian worker. So it's just a party that opportunists take advantage of now and again.
Yeah. Okay, Ayuba, sorry, Moses is here in Apapa, Lagos. Welcome, Moses.
Yeah, good evening, Citizen John.
I greet you, sir.
Yes. First thing first, I want to pray for my brother, my friend. I once catch up with this program when I traveled abroad. I didn't even know this program existed. But I'm praying for that man sitting down there.
No, but you must pray for everybody here.
I'm praying for everybody.
No, you see, if you are praying for me to make more money, if you are praying for me to make more money, they will be jealous.
Oh, come on.
No, don't worry. Don't worry. My prayer will give you more money.
Yes.
All right, Moses, let's go.
I pray for you. I pray for you, my brother. Look, no matter what they say, please, I beg you in the name of God, don't listen to them. You will not die
who are
in the
these
hands
them?
of your enemy.
Who are these them?
I watched this program yesterday. I tried to connect to this program countless times, but I couldn't get through. I heard one man attacking you from wherever. That is his business.
Yeah. Okay, it's only natural. It's only natural.
It's his business. My brother, I pray for you. You will not die in the hands of your enemy.
Amen.
The day you die, it will be the day God called you.
Amen. Amen.
That is my prayer for you. And Citizen Jones, my prayer goes to all of you.
All right then.
But please, I want to chip in little things. Please, it might be off your program right now or off your whatever there. I beg you, Citizen Jones, please, I need you people to please come to Apapa in the night. Do just please come and see what these police people are doing in the night. The suffering we are here is not enough for them. They'll go round under the bridge, bringing trailers to
okay, but this table is like
maybe it's even a story there that you wanted us to do.
Yeah.
Lost the call.
Yeah.
If we get an opportunity, you can call again.
Why not? But again, we are talking about the police. Do you know the police is subject to a national minimum wage?
Yes.
So at a time like this, you expect the police to be giving the policeman to earn a living wage, won't you?
Well, the issue about police wages for police, has been neither here nor there. What would you want the police to earn? Now, if you give the police a minimum wage of 100,000 naira, will that
stop extortion?
Will that stop extortion? Will that make policemen perform more effectively? Will that give us a solid police force that can handle internal security so that the military can face issues of defense? Well, the debate is an ongoing one. Like you said, it's an ongoing conversation. But I think, basically, like I said, it's not just about the figure. Certain other reliefs should be built into what is available to the Nigerian worker so that the Nigerian worker will be proud. Every morning, he or she rises up from the bed, ready to go to work.
That's it.
There's that sense of patriotism in the worker.
All right, then, we'll take a break here, but not that you should go away. We'll come back after this break. Please stay. Okay, then, welcome back. The news is simply this. Secretary to the Government of the Federation has announced that from September this year, going into the last quarter, a new national minimum wage would be announced. And so you're looking at the long-term effects of a large rise in minimum wage. You're looking at the federal government's what it costs every month. The trickle-down effect and so on.
Yeah. If, for example, the wage bill or the federal government is in the region of maybe 130 billion a month currently, if you increase minimum wage, and I'm not saying they should not increase, it is a constitutional thing that after a number of years you must increase. So I want to encourage the government to flout our constitution. Now, if we increase minimum wage, it means that from 130 billion monthly wage bill of the federal government, the wage bill could move to maybe about 250, because
depending on
other people, other categories of workers will benefit with little increases and all that. Otherwise, someone on grade level 1 could eventually go and earn the same thing as someone on maybe grade level 4, because you have increased minimum wage.
At the base.
So, yeah, at the base. So they now have to, in a graduated manner, add to other people's salaries and all that. That's what happens every time we increase minimum wage, which means that the salary bill or the federal government could go, for example, to as high as maybe 250 billion. If it goes to 250 billion, I'm not sure.
Are you thinking of a supplementary budget here?
No, but I'm even looking beyond that.
Okay.
I'm looking at how much money will have to be set aside for recurrent in subsequent budget. Because if it goes to 250 billion, for example, it means that in 4 months, we'll be spending about 1 trillion on salaries of public servants, you know. So, except that this triggers a right sizing of the workforce, that could happen in some states, because states that are struggling to pay salary now, if you saddle them with a fresh minimum wage, they may be forced now to look at the size of the workforce and do something about it. In the federal civil service, that could also happen.
When you lay off, you are paying people off.
You pay people off, but you see, it is sometimes it's difficult. It's a difficult step to take, but it is also in some cases inevitable. So these states don't need as many workers as they have currently on their payroll.
The Kaduna governor gave us an insight into this. The governor said in a particular office you had 15 drivers, but 7 vehicles.
Yes.
So what are you doing with the excess? And I know that. And he shoved them aside. But you pay those people off. That will take a chunk.
That's one-off. You can do once you've done it, then subsequent months at least you can sleep easy.
For me, there should be more critical ways of looking at some of those things. Government has a set of objectives. Now, some people say government has no business being in business. Some people say government has business being in business. Now, how about if you said 14 drivers and then you have 7 vehicles? How about moving 7 of those drivers to the State Transport Corporation to generate money for the state? You call them drivers. Yes, you buy more buses. You buy more buses instead of having people spending hours at the buses.
Come on. Many states have had to close down state-run transport. So
that is a different matter entirely, because people deliberately chose to destroy government property. That's a different. Those ones are criminal. That's criminal.
It is a part of it, part of a whole.
But how is it possible that some states have been able to sustain the same kinds of
accountability? If it is not there, it is not there.
That's it. So, no, what I'm talking about is instead of laying people off and then incurring a huge severance pay bill, why not move them to certain areas where they might even be more useful?
The severance pay is a one-off thing.
Yeah.
Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu did it here in Lagos. Yeah. It was a difficult time. It was during his first term. Yeah. He right-sized the labor force. He let people go. Today, Lagos has probably the best civil service in the country. You know, a leaner, far more nimble civil service. You can have a situation, and I know that that's what prevails in many states. You can have a situation whereby you just keep people that you don't need, especially local government workers. A lot of those local government workers, you see them only on payday. That's when they show up, only on payday. There are people whose names of their children, I remember in Zamfara, I was told that even a 5-month-old child was on the payroll of one of the local governments.
Even in Katsina, was it the governor who said that children of highly placed individuals have their names on the payroll of local government?
Can we talk about this quickly? Pilgrims Welfare Boards, that's a conduit from state to state.
Well, religion remains a contentious matter in Nigeria, and until we decide collectively that religion should be a private affair, not a responsibility of government, then we will know what to do with the pilgrims.
We pay lip service to such issues.
Yeah.
I've had people in government say, look, we will no longer fund pilgrimages. And I've seen governments go back to funding pilgrimages and even making forex available at a concessionary rate.
The current government.
The kind of forex that you don't make available to manufacturers, you make available at concessionary rate to people, for people to go on pilgrimage.
And the Constitution is very, very clear about this. No state shall adopt any religion.
You know, it was even funny when this government came in, and there was this concessionary forex rate for Muslim pilgrims. And the people, said, no, it's wrong. And some officials of this government were saying, but the previous government did it for Christians. Why don't you do it for Muslims? That was the end of the argument.
Let's begin to take this home now.
So if you push it further, you become an enemy.
National minimum wage. Thankfully, 5 months to go. We are allowing a lot of toeing and jaw-jawing to go.
Countdown has begun.
Countdown, yeah, it has. Because September is the woman at the marketplace, the tailor, they name them. Artisan, everybody.
6 months.
Things are already tough. You scare me by reminding me of what those traders will do, because it's a natural course of action that once you introduce a minimum wage, they will hike the food prices and all that. I don't want to see that happen, though I know that it's inevitable. Nigerians are already going through a lot. Remember, the IMF said that Nigerians, the life of the average Nigerian is getting worse, though we have already exited recession. Nigerians are going through a lot, finding it difficult to survive. Now, if the minimum wage comes and the woman who sells groundnut oil increases the price, the one who sells maize increases the price, we all suffer. I remember during the fasting season, the governor of Sokoto State was begging, please, don't increase prices of foodstuff during this fasting season, because it is what we do all the time.
It runs counter to the spirit of the season.
Yeah, of the season. The fasting season. We want to be closer to God, but you choose that time to exploit your fellow Nigerians. I mean, this is the way we are, but things need to change. I don't want to see a situation in which, as bad as things are now, the minimum wage comes, the woman selling something in the market hears that minimum wage has been paid to civil servant, and then
to
increases.
Her, everybody who approaches a store
is a government worker.
We
are not all government workers. Please spare us.
And this is not true. Of course, nobody is taking into account the per capita earning of the poorest of the poor.
Yeah. Which is very, very unfortunate. Yeah, well, in Nigeria, I think government is the largest employer of labor, if I'm right. So it follows from there that anything government does affects everything in the society. So, well, if you're not a government worker benefiting from the minimum wage, well, now you sabi.
All right, folks, that will just about do it regarding the new national minimum wage. As we say, the debate continues, and this table will not hesitate to join the debate at any point in the future. Okay, then, As nebulous or imprecise as hate speech in our jurisdiction is, the need to balance a regulation of freedom of speech with the right of the citizen to know and debate freely cannot be overstressed. The Nigerian Senate is seeking death by hanging for any person found guilty of any form of hate speech that results in the death of another person. The bill is sponsored by the image maker of the Red Chamber, Aliyu Sabi Abdullahi, APC member, Niger State. Jide, be careful, hate speech is going to be outlawed.
Outlawed, and then you are prescribing death. First and foremost, I'm even, because as part of the prescription, you know, that comes with that bill, then there shall be what they call the Independent National Commission for Hate Speeches. There is something here. The preposition for makes the idea a ridiculous one. Because if you say Independent National Commission for Hate Speeches, that means that commission will be dedicated to promoting hate speeches. It's just like when our president said, my wife belongs to the kitchen. So he was saying that
in the other room.
he should have, no. What he said was, my wife belongs to the kitchen.
Okay.
That was what he said in Germany. But he should have said, my wife belongs in the kitchen.
Okay, you are quarreling with the preposition.
The preposition, because the preposition will give an entirely different meaning to this whole thing.
In context.
Yes. Now, if you're saying for commission for, that means it is dedicated to promoting hate speech, which means
presupposes there will be hate speech.
Yes, you must, we must, the commission, the duty, the mandate of the commission is to ensure that there is hate speech. This is what this for, the word for. That is what it does here. You know, but that's a mistake that the senators clearly...
A mistake of the head or the heart?
Copy and paste.
Of the language.
A mistake of copy and paste.
Of the language. Prepositions are very tricky.
You know, they are key in English.
So clearly they did not see this. But my concern is who determines what constitutes, because I've seen, reading through, you see clearly that they were trying to bring in all kinds of elements into the bill. But at the end of the day, you ask yourself, that who determines what is hate speech at the end of the day?
And what is not.
And what is not. Because in a particular instance, they are saying that they are giving the impression that an ethnic champion, for example, could be liable. You know?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I got interested in that.
That an ethnic champion could be liable in this case.
That's an opinion leader in a particular environment.
Promoting his own ethnic group
or religion.
Ethnic group could be liable, because when I read, I said, what is you cannot, and then on harassment, that you are saying anybody who subjects another person to harassment. How do you define harassment? If I preach to you and you didn't quite like the fact that I preached to you, I walked away, I came back, preached to you a second time, will this law now get hold of me and put me in the slammer?
Emeka, let me come from this angle. The American Congress, in the wake of the 2011 strike in the U.S., enacted the Patriot Act. The idea was to curb any tendency of anybody wanting to join a terrorist act, meaning your phones, you could be snooped on, and so on. Are you thinking along that line here? Because in America, there was a national exigency. In Nigeria, these times are very challenging times.
Yeah, for me, going through it, there was a lot of copy and paste. They just went to different existing legislations and just picked things without consulting with the people. You know, the times are tough. Things are really tough. People are on edge right now. things are difficult. So it's easy. You cannot get to the president to tell him how you feel. You can't get to the governor. So you think the man next to you or the woman next to you is the easier, is the closest person you can take out your frustration on, maybe verbally or physically. But if Senator Abdullahi and if the Senate had actually thought of it, they could have set up a forum. They just set up a forum in Benin on illegal migration. They could have set up a forum on hate speech. Let this thing be debated.
That's it.
Consult Nigerians, maybe across the 6 geopolitical zone. Consult Nigerians. Let Nigerians talk about these things. And then...
So the law can now proceed from...
yes, government should work for the well-being of the citizens, not the destruction of the citizens. Hear from the people. Hear from opinion leaders. Hear from religious leaders. Hear from politicians. Then you now know how to begin to deal with this thing you call hate speech. And what is the function of the National Orientation Agency? What's the function of the NOA? This is the function of the NOA. The NOA should actually help to promote those values that build the society, that weld us together, that make us love each other, that make us tolerate each other, that make us seek the well-being of each other. But the NOA is virtually non-existent. So now, it's not just about snooping on phones and all of that. But the issue is this. Beginning from the government, how much have our leaders done to bring us together, to promote peaceful coexistence, to make Nigerians...
robust debates.
Robust debate and robust engagement. It's not about criminalizing. Look, it's even archaic, it's even embarrassing that a senator could be thinking of death penalty when the rest of the world is even talking of moving away from death penalty. It's really embarrassing.
Jide, and more than that, when a senator had not consulted with his constituents.
Yeah. Senator Sabi clearly, the last time I checked, his constituents chased him away. They wanted to beat him up. So maybe that was why he didn't consult with them, because he wasn't sure of what would happen, So, but there are elements of the bill that frighten me. There is an anti-terror law that the Ethiopian government came up with, so broad-based that they used it as a tool to arrest journalists, who criticize the government, arrest opposition elements who say things that they do not want to hear, because you just made it extremely broad. Now, it means that the law can actually ensnare virtually everybody. You never can tell when you run foul of the law. Look at, I was reading through, and one of the portions of the bill says that a person shall be liable when a person subjects another to harassment on the basis of ethnicity. How do you define this? Harassment on the basis of...
nebulous. So
yes.
Where do you draw the line?
How do you define harassment on the basis of ethnicity? I mean...
So if somebody calls me Nyamiri, for instance, is that harassment?
Or you
call it... then you'll be liable.
Is that harassment?
And then you'll be liable.
I mean,
then you'll be liable and risk
hanging, death by hanging.
All the people that they've even been sentencing to death. Our prisons are full to the brim. We don't execute. We don't execute people.
Not that.
Governors are reluctant to sign death warrants.
Even those on death row, we hear we don't have hangmen too many anymore.
And you want to now add more.
I know.
Come on.
But the governors, I know that we don't have.
In Lagos, you have just one hangman and too many people on...
When was the last time a Lagos governor signed a death warrant? Governors run away from signing death warrants.
No. But Akim Ambode had signed the one that has sentenced Raymond King, Reverend King, to death. Chukwuemeka. And the Supreme Court, I think in February 2016, affirmed the... So he's waiting for the hangman. But again, let's enlarge this.
That's one person. Across the country, governors are reluctant They stay in office for 8 years and
They
fail
don't
to
want
sign
to have
a single
blood in their hands.
No, but
No blood on their hands.
If the person has gone through the process of adjudication and all that, the case has gone to court and is been found guilty, your own duty, once they put that before you, is to sign. You look at the facts of the case. Yes, this guy was sentenced to death. Do your own job. They are all running away.
But
from
the governor
signing.
must be persuaded.
Oh, so how does it
Before
happen?
he signs.
Oh, so it's now that people want to test test them for courage, that they now want to be persuaded. Is that in other cases?
We must begin to take it home. Yeah.
In other cases, when courts give judgment, they proceed to implement. How come it is just in matters like this that they are reluctant to sign? The prisons will remain congested when governors fail to do their job of letting those who deserve to die, die. You see cases that were in the newspapers, that were reported by newspapers, people who actually committed murder and deserve to be killed according to our laws. But governors will not show courage, they will refuse to sign. You remember George Walker Bush. How did many Americans, why did they see George Walker Bush as a courageous leader? Because when he was governor of Texas, that woman who used ice pick to stab her husband more than 17 times, she became born again in prison, and even Pope John Paul pleaded
for leniency.
But George W. Bush refused.
The law is the law.
May the Lord have mercy on your soul. I just signed her death warrant a while ago. He addressed the Texas people.
So we are talking about courage here. Let's take it home, Emeka.
Yeah, for me, I think the Senate should occupy itself with issues that will build a nation. This one is an unnecessary distraction.
No, I don't expect the president to sign it.
You have, okay, what about cases where in states where workers have not been paid, pensioners have not been paid, and some of them committed suicide? Now, would you criminalize hate conduct? A situation where you deny people
hate speech,
good,
not conduct.
Hate speech, and you say, okay, that you will not
you
pay salaries. You cannot pay salaries. That is hate speech. That you cannot pay salaries, and people going to kill themselves.
Okay, maybe now the bill should be hate speech / conduct.
All right, so
which will put them in
even the National Assembly has refused to disclose its salaries and allowances.
That also hate conduct.
Hate conduct.
All right, I hear we must pack it all in for the evening.
And for the week.
And for the week. Jide, thank you for your time.
Thank you too.
I wish the Senate would invite you and just give them 1 or 2 lines. But
about what?
About the subject matter.
No, I will go with.
They should hold the public hearing.
I don't go to those places alone. So I'll go with Emeka.
You have company. Emeka Madwenago, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Jide,
thank you, viewers.
Otitoju, many thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it. If we cannot fight for freedom of speech, let's fight for freedom of thought. I'm out of here, but that's it for today and the week. As I just told you, the Lenten season is on. Be a part of it. Please think Nigeria. Join us on Monday, but watch a repeat broadcast of tonight's episode at 11. You can also watch Journalist Hangout on other platforms showing on the screen and on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Our feedback channel is Journalist Hangout at tvcnews.tv. And I am the Citizen Jones Hussein. Bye-bye for now. And I go with my speech for the evening. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.